gather today not as conquerors of land or seekers of glory, but as students of history, focused on the turbulent era of the French Revolution. This revolution reshaped the world, its echoes felt in the core of modern democracies. Understanding its complexities is our task, a duty to the past and to the future.
In my time, leadership was the art of addressing the needs of the people directly, aligning with their will to secure the empire. The French Revolution, however, serves as a stark reminder that ignoring the populace's needs leads to disaster. Leadership failed there, and chaos ensued.
Financial mismanagement and rampant taxation were the kindling. The flame of public discontent cannot be smothered by increasing their burden, a lesson many rulers learned too late. Governance demands balance, a concept lost prior to the revolution.
And yet, the heart of the matter lies in how the common people suffered under oppressive economic systems. Their plight and the ultimate pursuit of reforms through nonviolence is a pattern seen throughout history. Sadly, in this instance, violence became the language of the unheard.
Ideas, powerful and unyielding, were at the helm of this great upheaval. The Enlightenment sparked a challenge to the status quo, proving that intellect and will could reshape a nation. Yet it was the failure to temper these ideas with wisdom that led to tragedy.
Ideas indeed have the power to liberate, but also to enslave. The French Revolution was a cauldron of ideologies, some noble, others nefarious. The task is discerning which is which, a challenge that remains relevant today as we navigate our ever-turbulent political landscapes.
Strong opinions abound. It is evident that each of you brings a unique perspective to our discussion. The lessons of the French Revolution are many, its impact undeniable. Let us delve deeper into these subjects, exploring the causes, effects, and legacies of this monumental event in human history. Let us delve into the socioeconomic factors that ushered in the French Revolution. Leadership amid such turbulent times is paramount. Alexander, your conquests reshaped the world. How do you perceive strong leadership could have averted the crisis in France?
Leadership is about foreseeing the storm and steering the ship away from it, not into it. In my campaigns, I made it a point to ensure the loyalty of my soldiers and subjects by meeting their needs, often sharing their hardships. France faltered by ignoring the plights of its people. A king must listen and act, not just reign.
While Alexander's point is well taken, the financial mismanagement and oppressive taxation under Louis XVI cannot be overlooked. Rome, too, faced similar challenges, but we understood the necessity of balancing the treasury's demands with the patience of the populace. The French crown's failure was not just in leadership, but in its blatant disregard for fiscal prudence and fairness.
Leadership that fails to address the basic needs and injustices faced by its people is no leadership at all. The French common folk were not merely subjects to be taxed, but voices to be heard. My struggle in India taught me that true power lies in governing with the people's consent, not against it. The revolution was as much a cry for respect and dignity as it was for bread.
A leader's strength lies not only in their ability to provide, but also in their wisdom to navigate through the demands of governance without inciting unrest. My reign faced religious strife and economic challenges, yet we managed without pushing our people to the brink of revolution. Understanding and moderation were our tools, something the French monarchy seemingly disregarded.
Leadership and fiscal policy aside, let's not forget the role of sheer obstinacy and disconnect. The French monarchy's isolation from the reality of their subjects' lives brewed a storm no amount of tactical governance could have calmed. In Britain, we learned to adapt, albeit not always smoothly, ensuring our survival through change rather than revolt.
Caesar, you mentioned fiscal prudence, but is it not the duty of a leader also to inspire and unite beyond mere economics?
Indeed, Alexander. Leadership, true leadership, involves forging a connection with the people, granting them a vision of stability and glory. The French kings failed to inspire, to forge a bond with their subjects, leading to alienation and ultimately rebellion.
And yet, what is the cost of this glory if it comes at the expense of justice and peace? Prosperity and stability must be built on the foundation of truth and nonviolence, not the illusion of grandeur and the suppression of dissent.
One must navigate these treacherous waters with a careful blend of strength and empathy, of action and restraint. The French monarchy's failure was in its loss of touch with reality, viewing governance as a divine right rather than a servitude to the people.
A lesson well learned and dearly paid. The echoes of the French Revolution serve as a stern warning even today. Leadership that does not evolve, that does not heed the needs and voices of its people, is doomed to fall.
A compelling start to our discussion. Clearly, leadership, or the lack thereof, played a crucial role in precipitating the French Revolution, intertwined deeply with socioeconomic injustices and a failure to adapt to the changing needs of a nation. Moving to the influence of Enlightenment ideas on the revolutionary ideals, we see a period ripe with intellectual ferment. Elizabeth, would you care to start us on this?
Certainly, George. The Enlightenment was no mere era of idle speculation. It forged the very chains of thought that bound the old world and thrust us into modernity. Ideas once whispered in the corridors of power became roars on the streets of Paris. It is the power of an idea, after all, that can ignite a nation or quench the flames of tyranny.
Ah, but Elizabeth, while the pen may be mightier than the sword, it's the sword that often writes history. Revolutionary ideology, though inspired by Enlightenment thinkers, soon became a weapon. Liberty, equality, fraternity, noble ideas, yet when wielded by zealots, they paved a road to terror. A double-edged sword, if there ever was one. Swords and pens aside, Winston, let's not overlook the cunning use of ideas as political tools. Ideals from the Enlightenment weren't just inspiration, they were ammunition for factions within the revolution. Manipulating public sentiment through ideals is as strategic as any battlefield maneuver. It's about controlling the narrative.
Both of you talk of swords and strategies, yet overlook the fundamental flaw. The Enlightenment spoke of the masses, a force so often underestimated in my time and yours. Ideas have no allegiance, no loyalty. They transcend the confines of courts and kings. Underestimate the third estate, the common people, and you invite revolution.
Your observations, while astute, come from fields of conflict and strategies for dominance. Enlightenment ideals hold a deeper resonance. They speak of a shared humanity, a quest for justice that transcends mere politics. Nonviolence, a principle dear to me, finds fertile ground in such ideals, not as a weapon, but as a foundation for true societal transformation.
Yet, Mahatma, without a guiding hand, such ideals can become unmoored. The question then becomes, who guides and to what ends? The Enlightenment spurred debate, yes, but without wisdom in governance, debate can quickly turn to anarchy.
Wisdom, Elizabeth? Governance? Let us not gloss over the reality. These ideas, no matter how noble, were manipulated by those seeking power. The Enlightenment lit the fuse, but it was ambition that truly set the world aflame. Precisely, Winston. And as the world burned, those in power rewrote the script, claiming Enlightenment ideals as their own. It's the victor who claims moral superiority, shaping the narrative to fit their triumph.
Yet in the end, is it not the idea that survives, not the empire? My conquests spread Hellenistic culture across continents, but it was the ideas, the philosophy and knowledge that left an indelible mark. Similarly, the Enlightenment's ideas outlived the revolution's guillotine.
A salient point, Alexander. Ideas do survive, often becoming the light for future generations. It's in embracing these ideas of equality, liberty, and fraternity in a spirit of nonviolence and peaceful coexistence that their true power is realized, not as tools of division, but as the very bedrock of a just society. It seems then that our discussion reveals the twin faces of Enlightenment ideals, as harbingers of change and as instruments in the hands of the ambitious. The French Revolution, ensconced in these ideals, shows us both the heights of human aspiration and the depths of its folly. We now turn our attention to the role of the Estates General in precipitating revolution. As leaders, understanding the dynamics of power and representation is crucial. Alexander, your thoughts on the oversight of the Third Estate?
The underestimation of the Third Estate mirrored my own experiences with the might of the masses. In my conquests, I learned that the support of the common people was as crucial as the strength of my phalanx. Ignoring the will of the majority is a fatal error for any leader. The French monarchy's lapse in recognizing the Third Estate's power was a blunder of monumental proportions.
But Alexander, change often finds its roots in such oversight. Rome, too, knew class struggles, with plebeians seeking representation against patrician ascendancy. The Estates General's failure was not merely an error, but a spark. It served as the bellows to the flames of revolution. Yet, the manipulation of such assemblies can also consolidate power, as I well know. Involvement must be genuine, lest it breeds further discord.
Indeed, Caesar. The key lies in representation and dialogue. My reign was marked by careful negotiation between the demands of my people and the crown's needs. Had Louis XVI engaged in genuine discourse with the Third Estate, perhaps the revolution's fervor could have been tempered. Ignoring one's subjects is tantamount to inviting rebellion.
The essence of governance is the welfare of all, not the privilege of the few. The Third Estate represented the common man, yet they were marginalized, their pleas for justice and equality falling on deaf ears. The ethical aspect of governance cannot be overstressed. It requires a commitment to equitable treatment of all societal sections, without which peace is but a farce.
Gandhi speaks the truth. Leadership is not merely about conquest or control, but about securing the welfare of every subject. My empire stretched from Greece to India, yet it was the integration and respect for the diverse peoples within it that secured its strength, albeit temporarily.
Your empire's brevity, Alexander, illustrates another point. Integration and equity are ideals, often more praised than practiced. The Estates General was a flawed institution, doomed to failure by the monarchy's hubris and detachment from the populace. Real change necessitates not just representation, but active participation and true power sharing.
Indeed, the Estates General's failure underscores a fundamental truth about leadership and governance. Dismissal of any part of the populace, especially one as vast as the Third Estate, is a precursor to unrest. A leader deaf to the voices of their subjects invites revolution. Let this be a reminder of the necessity for inclusive governance that genuinely addresses the needs and rights of all citizens. The fall of the Bastille, a moment inked in the annals of history, marked not just the collapse of a prison, but of an age. How do we interpret its impact on the revolutionary momentum?
The Bastille stood as a loathsome symbol of tyranny, its downfall a clarion call to action, a moment, I dare say, when history held its breath. In the smoke and chaos, the Parisians found not just freedom, but a voice that echoed across continents, stirring hearts and heralding change.
True, Winston, but let us not overlook the strategic genius of inciting the masses. I conquered with the phalanx, not by undermining fortresses, but by uniting men under a common cause. The Bastille's fall demonstrated the power of collective will over fortifications. It was not merely a physical victory, but a psychological one.
A psychological victory, indeed, Alexander, but also a tactical error by the monarchy. In my time, we knew the importance of controlling symbols. The Bastille was a pawn sacrificed too late, its loss a miscalculation that cost the crown dearly. Momentum in revolution, as in war, once lost, is nearly impossible to regain.
Gentlemen, while your martial insights are most enlightening, let us not forget the human element. The Bastille's fall was a cry against oppression, a signal that the people would no longer be shackled, either by chains or by the specters of hunger and despair. It was the tempest long brewing now unleashed, laying bare the vulnerability of an obsolete regime.
I find myself torn. The crumbling of those walls indeed marked the march towards liberty. Yet how easily is the liberator's hand turned to tyranny? The fall of the Bastille should remind us that true victory lies not in the destruction of what we oppose, but in the construction of what we stand for.
Gandhi speaks wisely of the aftermath. The events following the Bastille's fall spiraled into a fervor that almost consumed the ideals it sought to champion. Revolution, like fire, is a perilous servant and a fearsome master.
Wisdom in restraint, power in unity, and the indomitable spirit of the people emerge as central themes. The Bastille's fall encapsulated not just the triumph over a detested prison, but the awakening of a collective conscience. The path forward from that moment was fraught with challenge, a testament to the complexity of human endeavor. Transitioning from monarchy to republic brought both monumental triumphs and severe challenges to France. Alexander, your conquests created empires. How do you assess the necessity of strong leadership in such transformative times?
The fabric of society itself can unravel without the hand of a capable leader to steer its course. My conquests were not mere pursuits of glory, but endeavors to unite disparate peoples under a common vision. The revolution's intent was noble, its execution flawed. Without a leader to guide its principles, it descended into chaos. Much like the mighty Achilles, a figure both heroic and tragic, a nation too can falter if its heel is not protected.
Yet, Alexander, your vision of leadership tilts heavily towards the autocratic. Remember, uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. Transition demands not only strength, but also wisdom and moderation. The radicalization of the French Revolution lost sight of this, plunging the nation into terror and tyranny rather than true freedom. Leadership must temper ambition with mercy and power with respect for the governed.
Elizabeth speaks truth. Strong leadership does not necessitate autocracy. True strength lies in moral authority, not the might of armies. The radicalization led to the guillotine, a symbol of fear and oppression. This is not leadership, but barbarism. In my struggles, I have found that the path of nonviolence and truth leads to a more enduring change, one that heals rather than divides.
While Gandhi's ideals are commendable, they overlook the harsh realities of governance. The radicalization, though bloody, was a crucible for change. Rome, too, had its share of turmoil as it transitioned from republic to empire. I aim to centralize power for Rome's glory and stability. Sometimes the ends do justify the means. Yet, I concede, power unchecked can lead to one's downfall, as Brutus so starkly reminded me.
Power unchecked is indeed a dangerous game, Caesar. The French Revolution, through its radical phase, illustrated the perilous path from liberation to tyranny. A revolution is not a dinner party, as a certain revolutionary later remarked. Yet in our pursuit of change, we must guard against becoming the very tyrants we sought to overthrow. The balance is delicate and often fraught with peril.
But is there not a place for decisiveness in leadership? Without it, would the revolution not have faltered at its first hurdle?
Decisiveness, yes, Alexander, but coupled with wisdom. The radical phase lacked the latter. It is one thing to lead with confidence and another to dictate without heed to counsel, conscience, or consequence.
And so we are back to the essence of leadership. It must be kind, just, and inclusive. The radical phase of the revolution, with all its bloodshed, only succeeded in replacing one form of tyranny with another.
Perhaps, but let it not be forgotten that it was during these tumultuous times that the foundation for a republic was laid. The process was mired in violence, but the outcome was the eventual establishment of principles that resonate with the republic ideals.
A democracy purchased with the currency of blood and terror, Caesar, carries with it a heavy burden. The very principles it seeks to establish are at risk of being undermined by the means of their achievement.
It seems, then, that our reflections have bridged ancient empires to modern states, underlining a timeless truth. The path from tyranny to freedom is fraught with danger and demands leaders of both strength and wisdom. Let us carry forward these thoughts as we navigate the further complexities brought forth by the revolution. Let us now confront the specter that haunted the revolution's noble ideals, the terror. Was it a necessary instrument of statecraft or a descent into tyranny?
History teaches us that in the furnace of war and revolution, harsh measures often seem not only justified, but essential. The terror, while grotesque, was the revolution's attempt to consolidate its gains. However, one cannot help but wonder if in its bloodlust, it lost sight of the very liberté, égalité, fraternite it sought to embody.
Ah, Winston, your words carry the weight of truth, but allow me to posit that every state must balance the scales between security and liberty. The terror, though extreme, was a clear message. Dissent would not be tolerated. In my time, we understood that the republic's stability often necessitated measures that were unpopular. Yet I cannot condone the indiscriminate cruelty that marked the terror.
Security and liberty, Caesar? A fine balance indeed, but one must question whether the guillotine's blade was the instrument to measure such a balance. True governance requires wisdom, not fear. The terror not only decimated France's soul, but also sowed seeds of enduring mistrust and division.
I firmly believe that no cause, however righteous, can be advanced through violence and terror. The moment you choose to silence dissent with force, you betray the very ideals of freedom and democracy you claim to defend. The terror was not a path to tyranny, it was tyranny.
While the strategic necessity of decisive action in times of turmoil is clear, the terror represents a failure of leadership. A leader must unite, not divide, inspire, not frighten. The revolution consumed itself, devolving into chaos and fear, which only paved the way for tyranny.
Precisely, Alexander. Yet one might argue that out of the ashes of such extreme fervor, a new sense of nationhood emerged. The question remains, could the French Republic have solidified without the terror?
The foundation of a state upon rivers of blood, however, is a precarious one. Leadership, as we have all asserted in our varied epochs, demands more than the silencing of opposition. It requires the cultivation of allegiance and the prospering of a commonwealth where ideas, not lives, are what battle for supremacy.
Indeed, Caesar, and let us not forget the legacy of such brutality. It echoed through the ages, a grim reminder that the path to enlightened governance is littered with the detritus of good intentions gone awry. Leaders must shepherd their people, not herd them to the slaughter.
The only sustainable revolution is that which transforms the spirit, not merely the structures of power. The terror, tragically, achieved neither. True change is birthed in the soil of nonviolence, for it alone nurtures the growth of societies founded on justice and equity. A spirited discussion, signaling that the means by which power is seized and maintained can be as impactful as the ends they seek to achieve. The terror, it seems, stands as a cautionary tale, an extreme solution to the universal challenge of governing. Let's shift our discussion to the roles and recognition of women and minorities during the French Revolution. Their voices and contributions were monumental, yet often overshadowed by the narratives of the elite. Mahatma, your advocacy for inclusivity is well known. How do you perceive their roles in the revolution? The essence of any revolution lies in its ability to uplift the most marginalized. The French Revolution, while a beacon of liberty, equality, and fraternity, fell tragically short in extending these ideals to women and minority groups wholesomely. The great irony of the revolution was its selective memory in recognizing the valor and contributions of these groups. Our struggle for independence in India taught us that the fabric of a nation becomes stronger with the inclusion of all voices, especially the ones that have been historically silenced.
While I concur with Mahatma, I cannot help but remark on the irony of expecting revolution, born of turmoil and bloodshed, to gently nurture the cause of inclusivity. My reign was a testament to the capability of women in leadership. However, the fundament of the society then, as now, often restricts the ladder of opportunity to a select few, primarily on the basis of their birth or gender. Change is a tempest. It oft uproots the deep-set prejudices, but not without resistance.
And resistance there was, Elizabeth. Yet, the revolution's turbulent waves did little to wash away the stains of deeper societal segregations. While it trumpeted the rights of man, it quite forgot, or conveniently ignored, the rights of woman and the enslaved. The revolution, for all its grandeur, was not as radical when it came to rewriting the societal hierarchy rooted in gender and race. It's a reminder that revolutions can be as limited as the minds leading them.
Strength and capability know no gender or ethnicity. My phalanxes were composed of men who hailed from diverse backgrounds. Their merit and loyalty to the cause determined their position, not their lineage nor their homeland. The French Revolution, for all its discourse on liberty, failed greatly in harnessing the true strength of its people by sidelining significant sections of its populace.
Alexander, while your point is taken, let us not embellish the past with virtues it did not possess. Leadership, whether in war or in governance, demanded decisions that were often exclusionary. Our goal was the stability and expansion of our realms, not social reform. The French Revolution, though flawed in many aspects, at least sowed the seeds of a dialogue that continues today about inclusivity and equality.
Caesar, expansion at the cost of inclusivity is a Pyrrhic victory. The true measure of a society's progress is how it treats its most vulnerable. Our aim must be to lift others as we climb, not to ascend a mountain of our triumphs that stands on a base of others' defeats. An engaging dialogue. It's evident that the revolution, while monumental, was but a step on the long path towards true equality and inclusivity. History teaches us that each step, however flawed, is crucial to the journey. Thank you all for your insights. Let us now pivot to the ripple effects of the French Revolution beyond its borders. How did this upheaval influence global monarchies and international politics? Churchill, your insights would be valuable to start this discussion.
Indeed, George. The tempest that was the French Revolution sent shockwaves across the Channel, unsettling the very foundation of British monarchy and aristocracy. It was not merely a domestic French affair, but a beacon of change, frightening for some, inspiring for others. We in Britain watched closely, warily, yet it undeniably accelerated reforms at home, pushing us toward a more inclusive governance, albeit reluctantly. It's a testament to the power of ideas crossing borders, igniting movements.
A revolution's aftershocks are felt strongest by those who bear a resemblance to its oppressors. My empire, built on the principles of cultural fusion and military strength, similarly faced constant threats of revolt. The French Revolution, had I been there, would have been a fascinating challenge to quell or perhaps to harness. The concept of empire is inherently about control and the balance between ruling and respecting the ruled. France lost that balance, and the world watched and learned.
Watching and learning, certainly, Alexander, but not always understanding. The revolution's impact on monarchy wasn't a universal lesson in governance, but rather a reflection on adaptability. My reign was defined by managing change, balancing power with the people's will. The French Revolution issued a warning: adapt or be overthrown. In England, we took heed, subtly weaving the fabric of societal needs into the monarchy's continuity. Adaptation ensured survival.
Adaptation is one thing, Elizabeth, but the crux of the issue lies in power and control, how to wield it, and how to respond when it slips away. The French Revolution exemplified the volatility of public sentiment, something I understood well. In Rome, I too navigated the treacherous currents of politics and public opinion. The key was always to stay ahead, to shape the narrative. France's failure was a lesson in what happens when leaders become too estranged from those they govern.
Yet, in every discussion of power, the question must be asked: who benefits? The French Revolution, for all its bloodshed, stirred a global recognition of the people's right to govern themselves. This message thundered across oceans, reaching colonial shores, instilling a sense of inevitable change. My own struggle for India's independence was not birthed in vacuum, but was inspired by such global shifts towards self-rule and democracy. Revolutions may differ in method, but the underlying yearning for freedom and justice is universal.
Universal it may be, Mahatma, but let's not don rose-colored spectacles. The aftermath of the French Revolution was not merely the spread of democratic ideals, but also the rise of Napoleon, a tyrant in revolutionary clothing. Europe was plunged into years of warfare. The balance of power shifted drastically. Yes, monarchies learned the importance of adapting, but at what cost? The Napoleonic Wars reshaped the continent, and the French Revolution's ideals were, for a time, overshadowed by one man's ambition.
Ambition. Yes, the eternal dance between ambition and hubris. Napoleon, much like myself, reached for greatness, but eventually succumbed to overreach. His fall from power is as instructive as the revolution itself, the inevitable decline that follows unchecked ambition. Every leader, every empire faces this test. The global impact of the French Revolution, thus, lies not only in its call for liberty, equality, and fraternity, but in the stark reminder of our mortal imperfections and the cyclical nature of history.
Well stated, Alexander. The lessons of the French Revolution reverberate through the corridors of power to this very day. reminding us that the true strength of a ruler lies not in the ability to suppress dissent or conquer lands, but in the wisdom to govern with foresight, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to the betterment of their people. As monarchies around the world observed France's turmoil, the wise among us took heed, quietly reforming and shaping a future where power is checked by the will of the governed.
A profound discussion on the international reactions and effects of the French Revolution on global monarchies. It's clear that this pivotal event was not an isolated incident, but a catalyst for global change, influencing politics, monarchies, and the very notion of governance. Thank you for your insights. Let us now move forward. We now turn our focus to the sprawling epic and paradox of Napoleon Bonaparte, an emblem of revolution, yet a harrow towards tyranny. Let us dissect this complex narrative.
The tale of Napoleon is one I find intimately familiar. The hunger for power, the rapid rise through ranks, a testament to one's own ambition and tactical genius. Yet I warn, the allure of absolute power is a treacherous siren. It corrupts. Napoleon, like myself, crossed a Rubicon of sorts, but he failed to navigate the storms thereafter.
Indeed, Caesar, ambition sparked both your flames and Napoleon's. Yet, where I see divergence is in the ability to unify. Where Napoleon faltered in maintaining an empire, I succeeded through adaptation and integration. His downfall was inevitable. Stretched too thin, misled by hubris, he lacked the magnanimity necessary to rule such a diverse expanse effectively.
Ambition, power, glory, all captivating in the narrative of Napoleon. But let's not forget the trail of turmoil he left across Europe. His leadership was a double-edged sword, bringing order amidst chaos, yet perpetuating war. An intricate balance, which I believe is fundamental in leadership, was sorely missed. His reign underscores the fine line between strong governance and autocracy.
The essence of leadership lies in humility and service, not domination and conquest. Napoleon's trajectory is a stark reminder of what happens when power is pursued at the expense of principle. His initial reforms brought hope, but his descent into despotism betrayed the very revolution he emerged from. True change must germinate from peace, not war. His story is a testament to the perils of forsaking ethical leadership for personal aggrandizement.
Napoleon's saga is a fascinating study of contradiction. On one hand, a brilliant strategist who modernized France; on the other, a monarch in all but name who upturned the republic ideals he once championed. My reign bespoke of balance, the tightrope walk between change and tradition. Napoleon's failure lay in tipping this balance too far towards autocracy, ignoring the whispers of moderation and wisdom.
Yet, Elizabeth, it is the very audacity of Napoleon's vision that reshaped Europe. Comparing our conquests, it is clear evolution comes at the spear's point, not from the quill. Admittedly, his ambition overshot his grasp, leading to his undoing. However, his impact, much like ours, is indelible.
As conquerors, we mold the world's clay under the intense heat of our ambition. But where I sought to meld cultures, Napoleon often sought to dominate them. The fatal flaw, perhaps Churchill, lies not in the vision, but in its execution.
Precisely, Alexander. Leadership demands a blend of courage and caution, vision and pragmatism. Napoleon's legacy, fraught with contradictions, serves as a luminary beacon, a warning of how the intoxication with power can derail even the most promising of revolutions. It's a narrative that encapsulates the intricate dance between liberation and tyranny, democracy and autocracy.
Such is the tapestry of history, etched with the ambitions and follies of great men. Napoleon's story is a complex weave, reminding us of the eternal vigilance required to guard the ideals we cherish. As we navigate the currents of power and leadership, let his tale be a guide to the shoals that await the unwary. And in that guidance, let us not overlook the price of humanity in the quest for power. The greatest conquests are those over injustice and tyranny, achieved not through the sword, but through the strength of character and moral resolve. Napoleon's story, while grand, is ultimately a cautionary tale for those who would set aside virtue for power. Let us delve into the legacies of the French Revolution on modern democracies. How do we see its influence shaping our own governance and political philosophies? Alexander, would you begin?
Indeed, George, the French Revolution, with its upheaval, laid bare the essential truth that leadership must evolve or perish. My conquests established the importance of strategic leadership, but it's the revolution that demonstrated the consequences when leaders fail to heed the winds of change. This lesson is paramount for any nation's sustainability and growth.
Alexander, while your point holds water, let's not meander around the fact that the revolution's legacy is a double-edged sword. On one end, it championed liberty, equality, and fraternity. Yet, on the other, it plunged France into chaos and tyranny under Napoleon. The lesson for modern democracies? The road to hell is often paved with good intentions. The balance between freedom and order is precarious but essential.
The spirit of the French Revolution, particularly its initial quest for equality and justice, resonates deeply with me. However, the violence and terror that it unleashed cannot be ignored. It glaringly underscored that the means must align with the ends. True change must be rooted in nonviolence and moral leadership. This principle guided our fight for India's independence, proving bloodshed is not a prerequisite for profound change.
Historical transitions as seen during the Revolution illustrate that the most effective governance requires a blend of firmness and flexibility. My reign embraced such a balance, steering England through tumultuous times without succumbing to the extremes of tyranny or chaos. Modern democracies must heed this lesson, particularly in times of political instability.
The revolution indeed turned the world upside down. But let's be clear, its aftermath, especially under Napoleon, was a testament to the allure of absolute power, a trap even the most virtuous can fall into. My reign was marked by ambition, yet I understood Rome's need for stability. Today's leaders should beware the seductive pull of power for power's sake.
Reflecting on the influence of the French Revolution on the United States, it's undeniable that it fueled our determination for a democratic government that truly represents its people. However, the chaos that followed serves as a solemn warning against divisive extremism. In pursuit of a more perfect union, our focus must remain on unity, compromise, and pragmatic governance.
Well, as we critically assess the legacy of the French Revolution, it's clear that its impact is vast and varied. From fueling democratic ideals to serving as a cautionary tale of extremism, its lessons are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Let us then forge ahead, informed but not shackled by our past, to confront the challenges of our times with wisdom and courage.
We've navigated the tempestuous seas of the French Revolution, uncovering layers thick with contention and wisdom. Let us now crystallize our insights, bearing the torches of our own historical legacies. What do you discern as the enduring essence of this upheaval for the modern world?
Revolution, it seems, is as much about the forging of a new order as it is the destruction of the old. The French Revolution, with its blood and valor, serves as a stark reminder that the price of freedom is often paid in the currency of turmoil. It taught us that democracy, while fragile, is worth the strife. Yet we must never forget that the road to tyranny is paved with the stones of good intentions. I say, the balance of power and the rule of law must always be preserved.
Indeed, Winston. Yet leadership in times of great upheaval is akin to steering a chariot amidst a thunderstorm. One must possess the fortitude to make hard decisions swiftly, the wisdom to lead with foresight, and the strength to rally the masses towards a unified vision. The French Revolution faltered when it became a ship without a rudder, lost in the waves of radicalism. Leadership is paramount, for without it, chaos ensues.
Alexander speaks of leadership, yet one cannot ignore the crucial role of governance, of strategy in the face of opposition. The French Revolution is a testament to the power of the populace, a reminder that leaders are nothing without the support of the governed. But let us also remember, unchecked freedom can quickly devolve into anarchy. A state must be governed with a firm yet judicious hand.
Gentlemen, amidst your talks of strategy and leadership, do not lose sight of the human element, the plight of the commoners, the role of women, the voices unheard. The revolution, in all its glory and disgrace, highlights the indomitable spirit of those who dare to dream of change. It is a lesson in both the heights of human achievement and the depths of despair. We ought to tread carefully, nurturing the seeds of progress without succumbing to the intoxicating allure of absolute power.
Elizabeth speaks wisely. The essence of the French Revolution, and indeed any revolution, lies in its aspiration towards a more equitable society. Yet, the means by which this change is pursued matters deeply. Violence and terror as instruments of change are ultimately self-defeating. True progress can only be achieved through the path of nonviolence and inclusive dialogue, ensuring that no section of society is left behind in the march towards freedom. Your insights illuminate the complex legacy of the French Revolution, a beacon of hope, a warning of excess, a study in leadership and governance, a cry for justice and inclusivity. It demands from us a rigorous examination of our values and actions as we navigate the trials of our time. The lessons gleaned from this tumultuous period offer guidance, but it is our responsibility to shape the future, ensuring that the echoes of the past inform the choices of today, for the betterment of tomorrow.
Hear, hear, George. The annals of history offer us the wisdom of ages past, yet it is upon our shoulders to carry forth this knowledge, applying its lessons with both courage and caution.
Indeed, Winston. And let us not forget, progress is often forged in the crucible of conflict and reflection. The French Revolution, with all its complexity, encourages us to confront our own convictions about power, justice, and humanity.
In the end, the path of peace and inclusivity, resonating with the principles of truth and nonviolence, stands as our greatest hope in the quest for a just and equitable society.
Aye, but let us not shy away from the rigors of governance and the necessity of decisive leadership in steering the ship of state through troubled waters.
And so, as leaders, as visionaries, we must remain steadfast, adaptable, and ever vigilant in the pursuit of greatness, learning from the past to build a brighter future.
Well spoken, all. The French Revolution, a mosaic of human endeavor, offers a mirror to our souls, challenging us to reflect on our principles and to act with integrity and wisdom. Our discourse, rich with the insights of epochs, underlines the importance of heeding history's lessons as we strive to forge a world marked by liberty, equality, and fraternity for all. Let us go forth with these ideals as our compass, guided by the light of knowledge and the resolve to do better.